What if all you had to do was reverse the roles, switch the roles to figure out if your relationships are actually mutual, back and forth, right? There have been at least a few people, a handful of people in my life that I've looked at as like, well, I feel like I'm being used, first and foremost. Secondly, would they actually do the same thing for me? And I understand that this is not always fair because maybe the circumstances are different. Maybe, they need a car in order to be able to do for you what you do for them. Maybe they need different things, right? But what I'm really looking at now is because I've had people in my life that I've done a lot for, a lot, a lot, like an excessive amount. These were times when I had more so permeable boundaries, and I wasn't approaching it from a standpoint of mutuality, of back and forthness. I was more so approaching it from a standpoint of, well, what can Chris do for this person, and really not even considering my own needs. Um, you can find out a lot about a person not only if you ask them if they would do the same thing for you, but also just kind of like if you're doing something for somebody and you were to like reverse the role and like imagine them doing it for you, like would they? And again, I understand that this is maybe not like an entirely fair question to ask, but like I've realized that relationships I've had in my life have not been mutual. They've not been back and forth. They've not been balanced. They've not been healthy. Um, for instance, no names, of course, but um, I've gone out to eat with somebody. Um, it was a woman, and I recognize that I should have had the conversation previously, but I was paying for all the meals. I mean, there were maybe like one or two here and there that um, you know she did, but like um, there's a point when you're being used, and you have to recognize it. And that's what I'm saying in terms of switching the roles when like, you know, if you're doing things for a person, if you're doing a lot for a person, and it can be really easy to get stuck or lost inside of doing a lot for a person, especially if that's comfortable and familiar to you, right? Um, where it's actually beneficial to take a step back and to like look at it from the dynamic of reversing the roles. Oh, would this person actually, do this for me? Would they do that for me? Would they do all these things on a consistent basis for me? Right? And if the answer is no, I'd honestly just get the fuck out. I've spent so much time in relationships where there wasn't a mutual back and forth. And it's just not it's not healthy. You can pursue whatever kind of relationships you want. You can be in relationships that are unbalanced, relationships where you give, 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 give. Um, you can. But if you're not getting anything in return, and not only that, but like I'm now becoming repulsed by individuals, all individuals, but like especially women that are just drama ridden. And I used to believe that I had to sit there and listen to it, um, so that they would like me, because I thought that that was the way that it was supposed to go. Um, And then I upped my standards and I'm like, yeah, this is bullshit. I don't give a fuck about anything this person's saying. Um, doesn't mean I don't care about them. It just means I'm not interested in the fucking material. I don't like it. I'm not, you know. Um, so yeah, it's just, you can find out a lot. Um, if you really just kind of like switch the roles and view your perception of things differently, right? Just by um just by kind of like, you know, looking like yesterday and over the past few days I've really been looking at it, and I've just been reversing the roles. I'm like, could I actually see this person doing all these things for me? Right? Um and the unfortunate answer is no. And you can tell. You don't even have to ask. You can tell. Um, you can tell simply by just looking at other dynamics within the relationship, this, that, and the other. I'm no longer interested in having any relationships with anyone that is just either imbalanced or like totally one sided. I mean, obviously, totally one sided relationships are a fucking no go. Um, but yeah, that's just, it's like, I don't know. I'm very interested in getting that perception because I think that it really puts things into perspective. I really do. Um, that's just the reality of it. Um, so I think it's helpful to like see it that way. I was actually gonna write this as a post last night on YouTube, um, talking about how this can really change a lot for you. Because like, full honesty, like my interest for the relationship changes completely if, and I'm not talking about having like bogus expectations or like, oh, they'd have to jump through fucking hoops. No, would they do for you what you do for them? And it's nothing that you do that is unhealthy. It's just stuff, right? You give them a ride somewhere. Oh, would they do that for you? Oh, they can't? Why? Oh, they don't have a car? I mean, it's not a red flag, but I'm still going to call it a red flag. Why can't they drive? They're probably using you, right? And I have unfortunately fucked with that enough in my life, and I don't want to anymore. I don't want to be used by people. I don't want to be disposable and be discarded. It's not fun. It's really not. You can tell when a relationship is superficial. You can tell when um you can tell when it's superficial because the person only reaches out to you for rides and to go out and get food, and you pay for the food, all of it. Yeah. You can tell. And if you have a hard time seeing that and you're like, well, no, it'll maybe develop into something. Um, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, no, it won't. But what I am going to sit here and say is you can fucking fast track that shit and actually appear more confident and be like, listen, I'm not here to waste your time. This is what I'm looking for. If you can't provide this, then I'm going to move on. Right. And you just go about it that way. So, um, and when I say that too, I mean like you might even just be looking for an actual fucking friendship. Um, you get to define what a friendship is. You get to define what any type of relationship is, but you also know because you're asking questions because the other person's not providing you with clarity that the relationship is exceedingly and entirely superficial. That you're sitting there listening to a person tell you about shit you definitely do not give a fuck about, right? Like you actually like you're sitting there listening and you're like, wow, this person will not stop talking. I don't care. I'm not interested in any of what they're saying. And you're just like looking at the clock and you're trying to get out of there, um this can really fast track relationships, in terms of people, not genuine people, but people that will waste your time, because there are people out there that will waste your time. There will. um and I'm really starting to see it now in my own life. It's happened throughout my life. um Actually, a good example is that um years ago I had a, I'm not even gonna call it a friendship. I was completely fucking wrong. No names, but I was completely fucking wrong about the friendship. And I was giving this person rides everywhere. I was paying for a bunch of their stuff It was so fucking weird. And I mean, there wasn't really an agreement that like I would get any of the money back, but when I did ask for some of the money back, like I gave and got the person like, I don't know, at least like $1,000 worth of stuff, maybe less. I don't know. It was enough money to be concerned about. And when I finally came back around, I asked for like $150 back. They were like, "Oh, money changes people, and you're proof of that." Right. Again, like you can tell um, when somebody's using you, and I'm really not trying to have any sort of a relationship, whether friendship or romantic, with somebody that uses me. And that's why this whole perception of reversing the roles, switching things around, and you know, just asking yourself questions. Hey, how would this person approach it? Would they do this? Would they do that? What would they do? Would they reciprocate for you? And just in my own honest opinion, not at all telling anybody what to do, but if it does not look reciprocal, if it does not look like it's back and forth, if it does not look balanced, just get the fuck out. That's all.